Hello, dear Sean Kennedy. Yeah, sure. Sources and work people who work with the intelligence at and next to Fox Connecticut News and other news locations who have roles forcing child abusers, leaders of kids, and other natures of organized crimes at the same time. Identity theft, fraud, slanders. These are increasingly people with the state corrections offices and judicial branch offices. A long term before the World Trade Center attack, in the attack context in Manhattan and interstates. And since it, they had roles also internationally, but also for further what we could call hyper international. And they have roles with the counters to the border problems as collusions with them and with people that live next to the states that come into the campuses. Like Mr. Waters' campus, Trinity College, is increasingly involved with intelligence families near me that I never even met, involved with ones that are involved with wire crimes and what met falsified police reports. Now, Weathersfield police attached me to fake conversations with them that weren't at all. When you have a conversation with them, the kids who did go when I was a kid at the police station, and then as an adult, they attached me to fake conversation with them too. I didn't have a word of one with one officer there. They put me in a fake sentence with a Mendez, one of the Mendez brothers. There are two Mendez brothers, reportedly brothers, involved with next to Fox Connecticut News and with the Weathersfield Police Department and with New Britain Superior Court and other courts and campuses involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, falsified police reports, wire crime acts and methods, refusing to identify themselves legitimately, interbranch, switching names, switching sequences, as one's involved with the court next to the World Trade Center. All sides in that case and the court itself involved with sequence shift and with the news predicate acts. You guys don't follow mandated law. You change the fake what guys people say. Then you quote fake transcripts. In other words, you guys been roles with. Then you're speaking about readings of statutes and precedents that are criminally foreign as tactically delusions raw. Like for example, adequate care with prisons. Prisons are increasingly involved with the torture, extortion, facsimile nature, slavery method, and at crime scenes, include increasingly their roles with body dumping spots. Sandy Hook campuses has roles of all kinds of natures of organized crimes and crime scenes with their patients and criminals before they were caught. Increasingly their roles with retired police chiefs with medical and sexual offenders of kids. Also tactically delusions raw. Triages throughout the country have roles with Institute of Living, for example, manifest the way the Institute of Living was founded on the campus of Hartford Hospital in 1822, with slavery still entrenched in northern colonies and southern colonies, by a breaching method that had even worse still entrenched. Okay, uses of roles with that also for it, and had nature's demonstrations of it. Then and still being forced to blame on other things, others and or on themselves. So why and how we are an economy having problems with you know with economic with commerce. We're on systems that are unnatural, that are tactically denatured. The suburbs were designed before America's founders were born. Tactically denatured, designed for a torture, extortion, facsimile, slavery method, and as a method to measure, maintain people collusion slash S to an extent against themselves and everyone else around them. Otherwise, those people had to sense anyone not like that, including a majority of people, and it was adapted to. Since for the breaching method, they didn't even know they were sensing. The sciences have been abridged since semi-ancient times, since before modern religious messengers were born. The names of the people the sciences could no longer afford to be, let alone to protract. Anyone with short words, with convictions proper regarding the sciences. So, in other words, please follow mandated law for Fox Connecticut News. They hold a bunch of wire crime acts and methods, and former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. He's also involved with a bunch of people involved with Puff Daddy and Usher and their roles with campuses and people with drugs and medicines crimes that are the only people allowed to counter, who are with their families putting fake transcripts in databases. They have wire crime acts and methods and federal evidence predicate acts with the same house slash S, and the police making confessions and refusing to get on paper since I was a kid. They put arrays of falsified police reports with different and make confessions tied to it, like switching names. I've been asking every year since before the World Trade Center attack. The FBI Director Robert Luskin, courts tied to him and his family members, their lawyer, they have rules, a whole bunch of different natures of organized crimes, acts, and methods, whole methods of them recorded, and rules of body dumping spots, murders, untimely deaths, all that stuff brought up together at the same time, and confessions and things that were confirmed on Facebook, and then they took my Facebook. They're changing and faking digital evidences, many with ties directly and indirectly with whiting forensics through time. Since I was a kid, increasingly they have roles with crime scenes and in the same house slash S involved with child abusers, leaders of kids first forced years apart. And the cliques that were apart with the first ones were adults now roles with the other one. And they have like the other news locations too, like WFSB attached me to fake conversations with themselves and with others about the World Trade Center attack. They have roles with a whole bunch of foreign and domestic involved with it. Time collusions with the ones interstates from Connecticut, and their roles intercities in there. They have roles of people that were in two cooking classes I had, and people that were in two speech class teachers I had, involved with some Washington, D.C. and World Trade Center corruption all the way back years before the World Trade Center. Those are also people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, all along Route 175 in conjunctions to it and conjunctions to that from old Weathersfield founding locations. Roles also on all sides of all from through Weathersfield through Newington, all the way to Central Connecticut State University in Newbury, Connecticut, on all sides of it are people that have been stacking predicate acts, fake ties to me, fake natures of ties to me, each with names at and each next to each campus I went to. It was brought up by the people with the arrest and refusing to get on paper, refusing to give me legitimate paper. The New Britain Superior Court has been putting fake things in their databases too, on a mass scale. There are proofs that they're not the only ones. And there are all kinds of sick things involved with probate court judges, involved with the same house slash S, with extended family members, as ones involved with Central Connecticut State University's roles with the Saudi attackers, per reported, whoever the attackers were, because it was also worse involved. Excuse me, there were time collusions they had with people named Scalora involved with predicate acts with them interstates. Central Connecticut State University outside, there's a lot of people with involvements with the intelligence community with Miami, involved with people with named Scalora. And the World Trade Center attack. And the World Trade Center used juxtaposed distinct natures of organized crimes and their roles within as investigators, investigations used remotely, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, and their campuses since founding, replacing what our founders declassified to have communicated for themselves, self-valuing roles, self-valuing their words used, leaving out what they declassified about how no one had free speech. Please follow mandated law, Sean Hannity. And for the courts, in other words, get them on paper, one name in sequence, get me off the big conversation with WFSB at the same time. These are the sources of WTNH. There are more people tied with the name O'Neill involved with West Hartford campuses, and they have their kids involved with wire crimes and acts with their roles. With a principal obscure nature, a principal being, and some ones with the name Leahy, involved with some sexual and medical abuses of kids, putting fake things in databases. And while they're tactically delusions raw, faking transcripts, forging names of other doctors, doing the same with that. And about conversations where they have roles with criminal enterprises in those cases. And the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson of the Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act in his defendant capacities. Also, before that, planting predicate acts at West Hartford locations, New Britain locations, campuses, Weathersfield locations, etc. Please follow mandated law, you guys, please.